Hello, and welcome to the 14th in a series of videos that provide detailed guidance on the use of the GDOT utility coordination tools now available in MicroStation Connect Edition. This is a video presentation of Lab4A, a sequel to the Lab4 video, which demonstrates a workflow of a solution to the exercise assigned in Lab4. It is also the fifth lab in the training module portion of the GDOT utility coordination tools document. The objective of this lab is to demonstrate a workflow for use in revising the Lawrence Avenue Sprint Street intersection layout drawing, north of Lawrence Avenue and west of Sprint Street, the northwest quadrant of the intersection. The criteria for this revision was communicated in Lab 4 and is as follows: adding curb and gutter, a sidewalk, right-of-way, a right-of-way marker, and sanitary sewer manholes as depicted. Additional criteria include the addition of a sanitary sewer line and the addition of an existing underground water line, also as depicted. To begin, launch MicroStation Connect Edition and select the GDOT SS2 workspace and the GDOT Util Training Workset by the Workspace and Workset pull-down arrows, respectively. Then select the Lab4 Training Overlay.dgn file from the Recent Files list if it is listed, or select the Browse option to navigate to and select the file. The revision workflow is as follows. First, launch the main menu. First, add curb and gutter from the edge of the existing pavement. The edge of pavement could be copied, but then it would have to be changed from the level and line weight and color of the edge of pavement to that of the curb and gutter. And if you're not familiar with the symbology, you don't have those things memorized, it might take a while to find out what they are. This information is listed in the GDOT Electronic Data Guidelines document, but to make things a little easier, there's a workaround. We'll start with the proposed 50 scale, and we'll just choose sanitary sewer since we'll eventually be using that section. For this, we'll change to the GUPS tab. On the GUPS tab, there is a curb and gutter button. Upon selection of this button, the settings will be in place to draw in a line at the appropriate symbology. So I'll select this, draw a line, and that is main P curb and gutter. So undo. Now I draw in using the snap mode to draw in the line work on top of the existing lines and then copy the lines already at the appropriate symbology. Select the key point snap. Then I'll navigate to the CAD Tools tab, where the Move Parallel option resides. Since the line is copied on top of the edge of pavement, I won't be copying, but I'll be moving it off of the edge of pavement to the appropriate location. A distance of 2 feet is keyed in. And on the CAD Tools tab, I'll select the Move Parallel option. I'll tentative snap to the edge of pavement. And that edge of pavement is identified as the main P edge of pavement line, which is not the line that needs to be copied. So I'll tentative snap again, and then the curb and gutter line that needs to be copied is selected. Do the same down here, tentative snap, main P edge of pavement, tentative snap again, and again, curb and gutter. Move the cursor in the direction to be copied. Left click to accept. Right click to exit the command. The other option is to copy the element and then change the symbology of the element after it has been copied. So for the curve, we will go back to the CAD Tools menu and we'll select the Copy Parallel option. 2 feet is already keyed in. Copy. Left click to copy, and then left click to accept the point that is copied to, and right click to exit the command. Now to change the symbology of the element that was just copied, which is currently main P edge of pavement, I'll select it by right clicking and holding the right mouse button, selecting the element selection option, drag a shape across it to select it. I'm dragging from right to left, which means that it will select anything that the shape overlaps. If I'm dragging from left to right, the entire element has to be completely encompassed by the shape. So again, I'll right click, hold down the right mouse button. This time I'll select the Properties option. When the Properties dialog appears, I will select the arc, and then I will select the level, and from the pull down arrow to the right of the field, I will select the curb and gutter option, curb and gutter line. Exit the dialog, and to unselect the selected element, I'll right click and hold the right mouse button, and then I will choose the Select None option. Main P curb and gutter line. Now, I can proceed with copying a 6-inch offset for the back of curb. Copy parallel. Six inches or 0.5 feet. The copy parallel workflow used for the curb and gutter will also be used for the other parallel items, to include the sidewalk and the right-of-way. The trim extend command will be used to remedy the issue with the overlap of the right-of-way lines. First, changing to the snap key point mode to ensure snapping to the end of the element that needs to be reduced in length, and then snapping to the element that it needs to be trimmed to. The element selection tool and the properties dialog will be used to place these elements on the correct level. The varies label indicates that some elements have been changed while others have not. So the solution to this is to just continue selecting the appropriate level until this varies option no longer appears. Next, we'll place a right-of-way marker at 20 scale. If you review the GDOT menu and the submenus, you'll notice a button does not exist to call up the right-of-way marker. In this instance, we can use the cell selector. So the cell selectors are accessible in each of the submenus for each utility. If you go back to the main menu, each of the utility buttons provide access to a proposed button under the Place Cells heading, and that proposed button is actually accessing a cell selector. So this dialog here is this is the cell selector. The problem is this cell selector is specific to the communication utility. It only has communications items. And each of the cell selectors for each utility is like that. They're specific to each utility. In order to gain access to the required right-of-way cell selector, select the File, Open, and when the Select Cell Selector dialog appears, you can see all of the cell selectors. So we have, for the required right-of-way, we have 4 of them. 1-to-1 scale, a 20 scale, 30 scale, and 50 scale. We need the 20 scale. So you can select it and then select the open option, or you can double click on it to launch it. And the right away marker is here. So I'll just click. And the scale is still set to 50. We could have set that previously from the previous menu the way we had been setting it, but this gives us another option, so we can just key it in here, 20. And I am in the key point snap mode, which is just fine for this. It'll allow us to snap to the end of a line to place the cell. And to place the sanitary sewer manhole, to make sure that we're in the sanitary option at 50 scale. In order to place the sanitary sewer manhole, we have to select the sanitary option. And we are at 50 scale. We've already set that, so click on the sanitary button. And we select the proposed under the place cell column, or the place cell heading. And when the cell selector appears, we will select the sanitary sewer option. From the place active cell dialog, you see 50 scale. The criteria from the revision list required placement of the cells using the coordinates. When placing cells by coordinates, it's best to cut and paste from the document in an effort to avoid typographical errors. So we'll pull up the document. Increase the size. With the sanitary sewer having been selected from the cell selector, it is attached to the cursor. So now we can key in but copy and paste the XY coordinates into the key in field. And right click and copy, or hold down the control key and select the C. Paste. And then enter. And copy the next coordinate. Paste. And one more. The next item on the revision list involves placing a combined sanitary sewer line that will connect the manholes. So we use the proposed sanitary menu and select the sanitary option underneath the sanitary heading. Select the snap mode, which will be the center snap mode, and then we can just hover over each of the manholes until the snap is locked. Left click to place the line. Or the same coordinates that we used to place the manholes can also be repurposed for placing the line. So we will undo this line placement, and then we will ensure that that place line tool is active in order to enter the keying commands for the XY coordinates. The up arrow can be used to call up the last command that was entered. Since we entered 3 commands, we'll select the up arrow 3 times. In addition to the sanitary sewer line, we will also be adding an underground water line. And this line will also be added using the coordinates. First, we will select the Back to Main Menu option. And then we will be changing the utility from the sanitary to the water. And then we will select the water option under the water heading. And the place line tool is still active, so now we will copy the coordinates. Copy. Paste. Not getting the copy option that I want, so I'll just use the Control C. Right click, paste, enter. And we have our water line. So now there are 2 outstanding items. After all these elements have been placed, we have to label the required right-of-way, and we have to label the water line. since we just placed the water line, we'll start with that one. And the label for the water line will be "10-inch water PVC C900. So we'll select that and copy. Then we will select the text option under the water heading. Paste unformatted, and it is determined to stay in the wrong format. So we may have to change the symbology once we place it. But the next thing you notice is it's just a small dot here. The text is it may appear as though it's not there, but it's actually just really small. So I'm going to go ahead and place it. I mean, there's a number of ways you could fix that. You could change it in the text styles and things like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place it. Exit the command. Then I will select the go back to the main menu and select Tools. And this is another instance in which the option that I'm looking for is not available on the menu. So what I'll do is I will right click and hold down, and okay, the selection tool is not there, so that means it's already active. It's just probably hidden behind something. There it is. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select the text that we just placed, which is at a very small scale and on the wrong level. So now I'll right click and go to the properties option. And there are a number of ways you could change the size of it. You could change the scale, but in this instance, let's see, I'll investigate changing the height and width. So now it is 0.0125. Let's see, I'll change it to 5. Then I'll change so it's on the correct level. The color is not correct because the color should be bi-level. So we'll select the first button here, and then by level, and then clear. We'll clear the selection in order to get out of the command. And now we'll select it one more time, and then we'll just move it from the context menu also. This menu right here, by the way, is the context menu. Okay, so we have the waterline and its label are placed, and so we'll unselect the text, and then we will label the right-of-way line. Since we already have right-of-way text here, it's just for the existing instead of proposed. We'll just copy and repurpose this. Right-click for the right-click and hold down the right mouse button to call the context menu, and then we will select the copy option. Place. And then we will edit the text. For this, we could call it the text editor, but since we have it selected, we could also use the properties menu as well. And so with the properties called up, select the text, and then we can just edit that. Change it from the exist to REQD. And then we want to change it from the property B right-of-way existing line to required right-of-way. Required right-of-way line. Unselect. And the drawing should appear as depicted. Though copying and editing the existing right-of-way text is a viable option for generating the required right-of-way label text, there is a more direct route. In the event that required items are not listed on the main menu or any of the sub-menus, it's always a good idea to check and see if the needed items are available on one of the cell selectors. As previously mentioned, each of the different types of utility buttons on the main menu access utility-specific sub-menus. On each of those sub-menus is a proposed button under the Place Cells command. Then that proposed button accesses a cell selector that is specific for that particular utility item. So in this case, the utility item is a sanitary sewer utility. So when it's selected, it launches the sanitary sewer specific cell selector. If we want to look and see if there is a right-of-way label, we would have to find the appropriate cell library or the appropriate cell selector. So in this case, we will select File, Open, And the required cell selectors would be the most likely candidate. In this instance, we will select the 50 scale required cell selector. And as we previously used this for the right-of-way marker, there's also a required right-of-way label. So we will select this option. And the required right-of-way label in the cell format should be formatted appropriately. This concludes the Lab 4A workshop solution video. Thank you for joining us.